Good morning and greetings, everyone. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to Temple Buddhist Center's weekly Sunday meditation service. My name is Victor, and I'm honored to be of service this morning. We hope that our service today finds each and every one of you happy and healthy, but please know that if you are struggling in any way, we hope that our service and our Sangha can be a source of strength, a source of refuge as we open our hearts to you and to your loved ones. Let's begin this morning with a few conscious breaths. Conscious breathing is where we seal the mouth, breathe deeply through the nose, hold that breath for a few moments, and then release slowly so that the exhale is longer than the inhale. Let's begin. Holding that breath for a moment, feeling the fullness of the lungs, and releasing slowly. Nice, long, slow, metered release. And as you do so, just checking in once more with the body, noticing any points of tension or contraction, helping to partner with the body to find a deeper level of gentleness and ease. A second conscious breath together. And releasing. As you release this time, giving yourself full and complete permission to unplug from that energy of going, doing, striving, efforting, living up to whatever it is it seems like the world is asking of you, and instead taking time to cultivate the connection to the energy of simply being. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, nothing to add to yourself, nothing to take away, a perfect expression of consciousness. And a third conscious breath together. And releasing. And as we release this third breath, just allowing into our awareness now the present moment. It might seem like a small increment of time, but the present moment has no beginning and no end. And we are always arriving in the here and the now. Here at Temple Buddhist Center, we like to begin our services with a little bit of chanting. Chanting is an integral part of every tradition. Chanting is not about being a singer. It is about having a voice. It is about a deeply devotional expression of what is sacred within you and sharing that with the entire universe. Our chant this morning is Om Vajrapani Hum, Om Vajrapani Hum. You might recognize the seed sound, Om. In the ancient traditions and the Hindu lineages, Om is the sound of the universe, reminding each one of us that we are a beautiful note in a grand cosmic symphony that is forever playing. Vajrapani is this energy of the enlightened mind, fierce, boundless, endless. And hum, in the Sanskrit tradition, hum means I am that, I am that. So we'll begin with a conscious breath. Together. Om Vajrapani Hum. 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 With a smile. Om Vajrapani Hum. Om Vajrapani Hum. Om Vajrapani Hum. Om Vajrapani Hum. Once more. Om Vajrapani Hum. And so we want to take a moment to not only allow that to resonate, sharing not only our energies together, but raising our voices and raising the consciousness. And we want to take a moment to welcome all of our friends joining us from all around the world on our live stream. So we welcome what we lovingly and affectionately refer to as our PJ Sangha. Everybody's still at home in their PJs because they're just too warm to get out of. And so here at Temple Buddhist Center, we practice Western Buddhism. Western Buddhism is a blend of Eastern philosophy and Western psychology. And this new and exciting form of spirituality is dynamic. It's growing and changing, learning with us as we make new scientific discoveries in all aspects of science as we learn more about this human condition. It is also inclusive, it is active, and focuses on core Buddhist insights, mindfulness, meditation, and their practical applications in our daily lives. Our goal here is not to get everyone to agree on a specific lineage or philosophy or sect of Buddhism, but rather it is on a shared experience of mindfulness, oneness, and love. Whether we are chanting together, sharing from the heart, or spending time in noble silence, we respect that you will participate at a level that is comfortable for you. We take refuge in the three jewels and acknowledge these core values as expressions of the awakened mind, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We value awareness of our Buddha nature, as well as the Buddha nature of all beings, bringing a fresh, new perspective to each and every encounter. And the second jewel of the Dharma is the Dharma, the truth teachings, the teachings that release us from fear and delusion and help us to realize the true nature of who we are. And finally, Sangha, the third jewel, our spiritual community, which is an essential part of growth, where we come together to practice the teachings and to support each other along every step of the path. And so let's take a moment now to silence any cell phones or electronic devices as we prepare for a time in contemplation and meditation. We're going to begin with the prayer of refuge, which we will recite 3 times for the 3 jewels that I just talked about. So, conscious breath together. Let's begin. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened. Through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. And so, as we enter a time now of meditation, a time spent together in noble silence, we invite you to practice in a way that is fitting for you. If you have an extensive practice, then please, by all means, what arises for you this morning is what you should do. If you are new to meditation, then we're going to begin with a dedication of intention. We will awaken the bell 3 times for the 3 jewels. And then our teacher today, Mr. Robert Brumet, will lead us in a guided meditation that's designed to assist you in moving into the stillness. We will spend approximately 10 to 12 minutes this morning in the stillness, in the noble silence, connecting with not only ourselves, but our community and indeed the world in noble silence, connecting in consciousness. And so with that, let's take a conscious breath together. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May the hearers awaken from forgetfulness, transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow, and realize the true nature of who they are.
As we hear the sound of the bell fading into the silence, I invite you to follow it into the silence. And notice that every sound you hear ends in the silence. Every breath you breathe originates from that same silence. Every beat of your heart arises from the deep silence. The same deep silence that created this universe and perhaps many others. the infinite silence. That is more than the absence of sound. As we go deep into the present moment, we see that it takes us beyond our sense of self in the world to a whole different experience of self. And eventually we may discover that the self and the silence are one and the same. So we take this time to rest the body, the mind, gently, gradually allow our awareness to deepen into the present moment, to deepen into the here and the now. And whenever the attention is caught up in the activities of the mind, wanting to pull us back into the world, just choose to let it go. Notice it, choose to let it go, to come back to the breath and allow the breath to take you once again into the deep silence that is your true nature. And now I invite you to feel the deep stillness, not only within, but also in this room and all around. I invite you to become aware of hearing. Becoming aware of your arms and your legs, feeling your feet on the floor or your bottom on the cushion. Feeling the body. Hearing. Becoming aware of thinking. Anticipation, whatever activities are arising in the mind. And in a moment, you'll hear the sound of the bell, and that is an invitation to gently open your eyes and to include singing in your practice. The practice continues throughout your everyday life. Being aware of seeing and hearing, thinking, sensing. And now the sound of the bell. Thank you, Victor.
You're welcome.
Thank you to our musical team. And good morning to you, and welcome. Happy New Year, happy January. A number of years ago, I mean, at least 20, maybe more, I had read a number of books about, the power of now and being in the now. Be Here Now, I read that 30 or 40 years ago. And I was sitting at a retreat in Barre, Massachusetts, outside of Boston. And the retreat had not yet begun, and I was just musing over this idea of now. I hadn't thought much about it before, but I was thinking about the now. So what is the now? Let's see if we can be in the now. Nope, I keep missing it. Every time I realize I'm in the now, it's in the past, right? Time seems to be like a river that we can't stop, we can't slow down. And now seems to be just a theoretical point in the middle of that river. Can't capture it. Alan Watts used to say trying to capture the now is like trying to catch the river in a fishing net. You can't do it. You can catch what's in the river, but you can't catch the river itself. So anyway, the retreat began, and I let go of that thought. And a couple days later, I had my first conference with the teacher. And I was talking a little bit about this whole idea of the now and my experience with it. And he smiled, and he looked at me, and he said something that seemed to penetrate deep, deep inside of me. And it was a realization. It was probably more of a transmission than a thought. It was a deep realization of what he said. He just looked at me and he said, "Robert, there's nothing but now. There's never, ever been anything but the present moment. You don't have to think about it. It's here. You live in it." So that sort of broke me open, and I rested in that awareness. And its residue has been with me for the last, ever since then, pretty much. So we hear that, but then the mind will step in and say, well, I remember yesterday, I had lunch with Joe, and he'll remember it too. We ate at this restaurant, da-da-da-da-da. How can you say the past is not real? Feels pretty real, doesn't it? Well, when you were having, this is me talking to myself, when you were having lunch or breakfast with Joe, what time was it? Was it in the past? Did you say, "Hi, Joe, here we are in the past"? No, it was the present moment, wasn't it? So you had lunch in the present moment. And what time is it now that you're remembering the present moment? Well, it's the present moment. I'm remembering another present moment. And somehow the mind creates the sense of the past. Every experience leaves a trace in the mind, sort of like a footprint in the snow. And we look at the footprint. We said, well, somebody must have been by here in the past. You see, the mind generates the past. And it's actually a very useful notion sometimes. When the tribal hunter looked at the tracks and says, well, the deer went past here in the past, therefore it's probably going to go through here in the future, so let me sit here and set a trap. Let me catch the deer. So that became very helpful. Time became very helpful. But pretty soon we began to become embedded in time. And we created a reality out of time. As you probably know, with very young children, there's really no such thing as time. You say to a 3-year-old, I'll be with you in 5 minutes. Might as well say 5 years. I mean, it doesn't, it's the same thing. When you're 3 years old, it's now or never. That's all there is to it. So, how to live in the present moment? Very simple. Just realize you cannot live anywhere else. It can never be anything other than the present moment. A couple of years ago, I was driving a road through a place in southern Missouri where I used to go trout fishing. And I noticed the billboards, and there was a Baptist church advertisement, gun shop, and then another Baptist church, and another gun shop, and Finally, I saw this one billboard that really grabbed my attention. It said, "Where will you spend eternity?" Never thought about that before. Where will I spend eternity? What is eternity? Well, eternity is something that never ends, right? And when did eternity begin? Well, it never began. It always was, right? I mean, that's the definition of eternity. Always was, always will be. When did the present moment begin? Far back as I can remember, it was the present moment. When will the present moment end? I don't think it will. So, what's the difference between the present moment and eternity? They're none. It's really one and the same. The now is eternal. When we live fully in the now, we live in an eternity, so to speak. An eternity, the now, is not so much a matter of time, but it's living beyond time. The now is not just a point in time. The now is the container that holds your entire life experience. It's like the screen upon which the movie is played. It all rests in this now moment. And when the teacher said to me, "There's nothing but the now," I realized after that, and I practiced, and I would add to his teaching by saying there's nothing but the now, and my life depends upon how I relate to that now. That's it. Incredibly simple. There's only this moment. Always there's this moment. And my relationship to it. It's as simple as can be. And I think that's what struck me about the teaching, was it was so powerful because it was so simple. Anytime, anywhere, all you need to do is to say, "It's now." I remember the great philosopher Yogi Berra, one of my teachers. When somebody would ask him, "Yogi, what time is it?" He'd say, "You mean right now?" Well, it's always right now. And so, what am I doing with right now? Am I rejecting it? Am I embracing it? Am I struggling with it? Am I wishing it were different? Am I trying to control it? Am I trying to change it? And then, what brings peace and what brings suffering? Just notice. When I resist the moment in the now, it doesn't feel good. It brings suffering. When I accept the experience in the now, I feel more peaceful. It's not a teaching, it's just something we experience. Just pay attention to this moment. How am I relating to this moment? And what response brings happiness? What response brings sorrow? what works, what doesn't. That's the entire teaching. And the Buddha said that the way human beings have been conditioned to respond to life brings suffering. And so it's possible to be free from suffering by changing the way we relate to the present moment. That's really the entire Dharma right there. But when we think time is real, and it's really more than just a surface thought. I mean, it's very deeply embedded in the psyche, the reality of time. Then what arises in time, from time, is a sense of self. So if you pay attention to when you are aware of yourself, you know, when you're on a first date, when it's a job interview, you know, when it feels like an important moment. I'm very aware of myself. You know, they're looking at me, they're evaluating me. Or the first time you speak in public. You see? So there's this awareness of self. But if somebody were to say, tell me about yourself, who are you? How would you respond? Well, every answer you would give is embedded in either the past, you know, I'm a teacher, I'm a this, I'm a that. I have these many children, I'm married, I'm single. I did this, I did that. My hopes, my dreams are this, that. Every time we describe ourselves, even to ourselves, anytime there's any sense of self, we get locked into the past. In the future, we get locked into time. There's an interesting phenomenon that when we're children, when we're quite young, we do this as adults, but much, much more as children. When we have something that's not working, we're not getting what we need, sometimes we'll make a decision. This is how I get what I need. This is how I avoid pain. I remember one time in my own life, my father was making fun of me for crying, crybaby. Oh, I can remember that moment. I stiffened my body. I said, I ain't never gonna cry again. I did, but it was like 30 years later. And then they really came. But I remember that very moment. I'll never let anybody hurt me again. I could feel myself armoring my body. And so those decisions get locked into time, so to speak. That's where our sense of time becomes. We make a decision, we get locked into it. And then for the next 30 years, I was reacting not to the world in the present moment. I was reacting to my father when I was 8 years old. Particularly every male I related to. I wasn't really relating to that person. I was relating to my father. There's a phenomenon that occurred several times after World War II, where the islands that the Japanese were defending, the Japanese would create these machine gun bunkers. They'd get high on a hill, and they'd create like a little den, living space really, with just a slot and a machine gun, and that's how they defended any intruders, against any intruders. And so several months after the war ended, it was like 6 months or so, some Seabees were building an airfield on one of the islands, and all of a sudden, someone started shooting at them. What the heck's going on? And they found out it came from an old machine gun bunker. There was still a Japanese soldier in there shooting. He thought the war was still going on, didn't know it was over. And so they tried to communicate to him. They got an interpreter, and he wouldn't believe them. So finally, they managed to find one of his former officers. And they brought that officer to the island, and the officer found his way into the nest and said, "The war is really over. It's okay for you to come out." So eventually he came out, and they took him back to Japan, and he was celebrated as a hero. He was the last Japanese soldier, you see. Well, we have all sorts of these loyal soldiers inside of us. We're fighting all sorts of fights. We're defending all sorts of territory from 20, 30, 40 years ago. So as we do our practice and live in the present moment, these pieces will come into our awareness. And as they come into our awareness, it's important to honor them, much like the Japanese soldiers, and to educate them. Hey, the war's over. You're not 8 years old anymore. This woman is not your mother. This man is not your father. We need to liberate these parts of ourselves. So we get caught up almost in a time warp. Because it's so interesting sometimes when we relate to these parts of ourselves, they're very young. And extreme examples of this are with the case of the dissociative disorders, or the multiple personalities, where the subpersonality is so powerful that it takes over, literally, you see. But most of us don't have that to that extreme. We have it to a much less extreme. But there's these parts of us that are locked into parts of our bodies. I'm taking physical therapy right now, and I'm becoming aware of how muscles I use in my body, some are very rigid, some are not used at all. So we're re-educating my body, how to walk, talk, sit. So it's important to play the game of time seriously. Don't show up 30 minutes late for an appointment and say, well, there is no time. It's all an illusion. Doesn't work that way. We need to honor the game of time. We need to honor our commitments in time and space, but to recognize time as simply a convenient fantasy. That's all it is. There's no such thing as an inch, is there? Someone arbitrarily picked a distance. I guess it's the king's knuckle or whatever it was, is an inch. The king's foot is a foot. Arbitrary designations of time, and that's not bad, but it's not real. That's what's really important. The only thing that's real is now. So how will you live eternity in eternity? I was going to make that the title of my talk today, but I was afraid nobody would show up if I did that. So I changed it. I softened it a little bit. So I want to close with this quote from one of my favorite teachers. His name is Swami Beyondananda. And Swami Beyondananda says, when you live fully in the present, then time will become a thing of the past. All right? Very profound. So profound you have to laugh at it, right? Enjoy your day. Enjoy your now moment.
Thank you so much, Robert. Let's take a moment and just embody the teachings, moving from our head now and just dropping into our heart and feeling the truth of the teachings, not needing to get caught up in our mind trying to figure out, record, remember, analyze, synthesize. Instead, just feel the truth of the teachings. And as we transition now into a heart practice, it is certainly common to maybe shift your posture or stretch or take a conscious breath, whatever you need to do to provide an external designation of this transition from one portion of our service into the next. And so with a heart practice, we have all kinds of different heart practices that we've been employing in the past few months. We used to just have metta, so we're moving into different kinds now. Our heart practice today is a Tonglen practice. And so I invite you to take a meditative posture, to perhaps close the eyes if you wish. And many people like to, for example, place a hand on the heart, or sometimes they might put both hands on their heart. You could also simply create the Anjali Mudra, which are what we often call prayer hands. It is a focusing of the heart. Any of these are certainly acceptable as we move into our heart practice today called Tonglen. So begin by taking a conscious breath together. Helping the body to relax, find a new level of ease, opening to spaciousness and clarity, a vast, pure emptiness, just resting in that. And we begin the visualization by working first with texture. Breathing in feelings of heat or heaviness or perhaps a darkness. And it's measured, only allow in what is comfortable. And as we breathe out feelings of coolness, brightness, and light, a sense of freshness. Breathing in completely, taking in a measure of suffering through all the pores of our body, and breathing out completely, radiating positive energy through all the pores of our skin in all directions. Do this until your visualization is synchronized with your natural in and out breath. Letting our hearts transform any heaviness, darkness or heat into light, love, freshness. And focus now on a person who may be struggling. It can be a friend, a loved one, someone on TV that you have seen, a classmate or a co-worker, a difficult person in your life, and breathing into your heart space any fear, anger, delusion that may be causing their suffering. Breathing that in, letting your heart transform that, and as you breathe out, you are breathing out peace, compassion, clarity. Letting your heart transform negativity into gentleness and ease. Now, make the taking in and the sending out bigger, extending it out to all those who perhaps are in the same situation, all those beings who may be struggling with fear, hatred, confusion, or even addiction. Breathing in their confusion, breathing out peace. Breathing in their suffering and breathing out ease that surrounds them all. Those who may have hurt you or who have hurt others, we can do Tong Len for them, thinking of them as having the same confusion, breathing in their suffering and sending out relief. Those who are cold and hungry, breathing in their suffering, breathing out warmth and ease. And now I invite you to recite these words silently as you continue the Tong Len practice of letting your heart transform suffering and breathing out peace, ease, and comfort. Breathing in, I transform negative energy. Breathing out, I share gentleness with the world. Breathing in, I transform darkness. Breathing out, I share light with the world. Breathing in, I transform hatred. Breathing out, I share love with the world. Breathing in, I transform suffering. Breathing out, I share compassion with the world. And so it is. And in the true spirit of Dana, the Buddhist practice of generosity, temple services here are given freely. In the same way, if you choose to give, please give with a generous heart, which means not in return for anything that you have received today, but rather so that those who may be seeking refuge will find it here in this temple with these teachers and with these teachings. And we take a moment of, and the Dana boxes are located at the back of the meditation hall. And we take a moment of gratitude, letting our hearts fill with warmth, love, and light for all of our ambassadors, those folks who have become regular monthly contributors. Again, it's not about the amount, it's just the regular monthly donations help us to set a budget. here at Temple Buddhist Center. And tremendous love and gratitude for all of our ambassadors, volunteers, all those folks who work each and every day to bring more opportunities for our Sangha, for connection, for enjoyment, for lessons and learning. Thank you so much to Matt and Karen for greeting and for running the Buddha and the Bean, which is every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Coffee and a celebration of awakening in all of its forms. Thank you so much to Christine and company now. She's expanding, as you can see, you guys, for your beautiful music. Thank you so much to Mr. Robert Brumet for your teachings, your wisdom, everything you do for Temple Buddhist Center, and for me. It is all straight from the heart. And thank you to, here we go, each and every one of you for everything that you do to help us here at Temple Buddhist Center. We certainly are the better for it. And as we prepare now for our bodhicitta dedication, I will put it up on the board here in just a minute. There's so many of us, I'm going to need help one of these days getting through everybody. And also up in the heavenly abodes. There we go. We'll recite the bodhicitta dedication together, and then I will sound the ending bell. And I do have a few announcements for you, some upcoming programs. So until then, let's take a breath together. And may the bodhicitta dedication together, may the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably until all are illumined and awakened. And with our hands together in front of our hearts, let us go forth now from this place, entering each moment in innocence, guided by the wisdom of our hearts. And as we open our hands, open our eyes, shine our light into the world. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone. Don't forget a few of our regular reminders, which is coffee, tea, water, and cookies downstairs. Thank you so much, Carrie, for the delicious crumble cookies that she brings to us every week. Those are downstairs. Also, we have our post-service discussion group, which is just out the meditation hall doors and to your left. And starting up here in just a few weeks, Matt is going to be starting up a 10:30 post-service discussion group. So we're going to have two, one after each service. Don't forget our lending library right over here in the corner. There is a book of awakening waiting for you. Also, our very own Jenny Hahn is featuring a Painting for Process workshop. This is a fabulous way to learn how to be in the present, to release judgment, and to express and paint from the heart. Registration will be going up this week online. It's not up yet. We're still getting our registration page, but everything else is done. So that registration will be going up this week, and that is for February 11th from 1 to 3:30. And of course, our mala bead workshop is hugely successful. It is packing out. I think there are a few spots left. So if you're interested in our mala bead workshop on January 22nd, where we will come together to learn about the origins, the history of the mala bead, how it's used as a meditation tool, and then we will be also making mala beads ourselves to either keep or to give to a friend. So that's coming up very soon. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and put up our weekly chart here that has so many wonderful things. Our recovery dharma, our Buddhism in 12-step, Tai Chi Cha begins this week. Every Tuesday evening, you can learn Tai Chi Cha and meditative movement. Oh, very, very important. Today is second Sunday, which means meditation seminar. So anyone that is struggling with your meditation practice or your mindfulness practice, or if you're just interested in a Buddhist perspective on life situations We're doing seminar from 1 to 2 o'clock today right here in this room. So if you'd like to know more about the meditation practice or talk about things that are bothering you with it or obstacles, then by all means, please come back at 1 o'clock after lunch or whatever you're doing, and we'll do the seminar. Thank you everyone so much as you go into your day. I wish you peace, blessings, and plenty of time for both.
So good to see you, my dear. Thank you. So you didn't hear I said hi.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said nothing. It's like there's a Sunday school I want to go to.
Okay.
Okay, maybe next week.
Yeah, whatever.